So let's continue looking at loops, and as we know, loops are a way for us to actually repeat things over and over again, and eventually at some point you come out of the loop and the code that comes below the loop is actually executed. This is the standard for loop statement, and as I've said, that's a very common notation that's used in lots of different programming languages and in PHP. Now, in the examples that we looked at before, the for loop often starts from a 0 or from a 1. That's the bit that comes before the first semicolon on the for line. But there's no real reason for you to do that. There's no reason to start from 0 or 1. There are variations possible. So you might have a scenario, for example, let's have a look at an example here. You could start from a different number. So if you look at the first bit before the first semicolon, you can see here it says counter equals 5. So in this instance, our counter will start from 5. And if we just process this loop, have to think about what's actually going on here. It says the initial value for counter would be 5. Our test says keep on doing the loop while counter is less than or equal to 10. And what will we do each time we go around the loop, we're going to add 1 to counter. So counter will have the values, it will start with 5, we do something in the loop, 6, do something in the loop, 7, do something in the loop, 8, do something in the loop, 9, do something in the loop, 10. Now notice the less than or equal to, so that still returns true, so we do the thing in the loop, add 1 to counter, counter becomes 11, and it's at that point that we drop out of the loop. So we don't actually have to start from a 0 or 1, we could start at some other number. Equally then, we don't actually have to increment the counter. There might be occasions when you want to change the amount that you will increase the count by every time. So in this instance, we're going to have a counter called myCounter, and you can see it starts with an initial value of 5. And this loop will continue while myCounter is less than 20. But have a look at the third part. You can see here we're doing something a little bit different. What's going to happen is every time we go around the loop, we're going to add 3 onto myCounter. So we'll start with 5, and then it will jump up to 8, and then it will increase by 3 each time we go round and round and round until we get to the point where myCounter is greater than 20, in which case that returns false and we drop out of the loop. The other variation that we could have is one where instead of counting up, we count down. So have a look at these values. I'm going to have a counter. In this instance, it's going to be called j, and j is going to have an initial value of not 0 or 1, but it's actually going to have an initial value of 20. And in this instance, we want that loop to continue while j is a number greater than 0. So we're going to go round and round the loop, and then have a look at the third bit. And this is a sort of the opposite of the plus plus notation. Minus minus basically is a shorthand that means subtract 1, decrement. So j will start with 20, and then as we go around the loop, j will have 1 subtracted from it each time. So it'll go 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, etc. all the way down until j hits 0, at which point we will jump out of the loop. So let's have a look at a few examples of that.